Hey friends, your girl Brittany here, back with another video for you today. So remember that thingy I made? Yeah, I'm calling it thingy because I still don't really have a cool name for it. That I used to put my pocket letter in for that swap I was in? Yes, that is this, but it's going to be shrunken down a little bit because I'm pretty sure, well, not pretty sure, but just in case a lot of people don't have everything that you have. So I'm like, well, you know what? Let me shrink it down so it caters to like everybody. So let's go ahead, stay tuned, grab your supplies, and let's go. So I started recording this and, well, I thought I was recording it and I wasn't. So we are going to start off with a 5.5 by 8.5 chipboard piece. And you're going to take an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock and you're just going to go ahead and wrap it up just like you would a mini album or if you've done a hardcover embellishment book or anything like that. So once we have that, you're going to take your pattern paper or whatever paper you're choosing and we are going to cover the exposed chipboard portion. Now, of course, the paper I'm using is 6 by 8, so it's not going to cover it completely, but I will be decorating it and you won't even see that. So now I'm going to flip it over and I am going to apply my red line tape. I'm doing this because I'm going to add my seam binding, my ribbon closure to the back to this, and I want it to stay put. So after I add my red line, I'm going to take my really pretty pink seam binding and I'm going to apply it onto there. Now, I forgot to do one little task that you should have done beforehand, but you will see it as I go along because I realized I did it. I forgot to apply my apparatus for the closure first before adding my red line tape. But again, you'll see that I had my way of redoing it so that way I can go ahead and add that on there and there's be no like discrepancy or issues on there. And so we have our piece here. This is going to be our closure apparatus and I'll have the scoring and cutting measurements down below in the description as always. So on that 1/2 inch portion, I cut the little notches off and now I'm going to fold on my score lines. I'm going to apply that to that back part and then I'm going to finish laying down my seam binding. Now that that's complete, I'm going to work on the long pocket. So I'm just going to push this to the side and we're going to take what will be our long pocket. And of course we have our little 4 little squares going on in our corners. We are going to go ahead and snip those away. Now usually you see me cut these at an angle, but this time around we are cutting directly on the score line. So you're going to go on that second score line and meet up to the second score line and snip those out. And then we are going to go ahead and fold on our score lines. Now after we're done with this, I'm going to go ahead and create my little box pocket. Now to keep your little shape, I'm going to add some glue just to apply my tabs together to keep the shape of our little box pocket. You don't have to do this, but it's a great way if you have an issue with your stuff staying put. So go ahead and just apply a little bit of glue and then I'm going to add my glue on top of my flaps and lay down my box. Now you see that part that I did not, where I didn't have enough of the paper to cover it up. You see how it kind of didn't matter? See how that works? All right, fantastic. So I'm going to apply that on there and we are going to work on our next task after that. Now I'm going to take what's going to be our middle flat portion and I'm going to fold on that 1/2 inch score line. And what we're going to do is we're going to have it folded like away from us and we are going to meet the edge of the chipboard piece. So then that way you have that space, that gap in between. So then you can be able to add whatever happiness and goodies in the base of the pocket that we have, and then you still have that room at the top to apply your goodies to the top portion. So after I do that, I'm going to go ahead and mat those pieces, and I'm going to put that to the side, and we are going to go ahead and take our two smaller pieces, which will be our pockets, and we're going to do this the exact same way as we did our longer pockets. I'm just going to cut up on the second score line up to the second score line. So we're going to create the perfect little box shape. Again, we're not going to cut it at an angle. And just like we did with the long pocket, we're going to fold on the score lines, and I'm going to add that little drops of glue on the base of the pockets, so then I can hold the shape of the pockets as I apply it to the middle flap. So we're going to go ahead and apply our pockets onto that middle flap that we just added, and you want to place them towards the bottom, towards the edge. Now we're going to take our acetate, and we're going to apply it to that closure apparatus thing that we had did previously, and it's going to go underneath that flap. And for this, I suggest that you use your double-sided tape, your score tape or red line tape or whatever tickles your fancy. I'm going to use some score tape myself, and then I also will have a matting piece to go over it, so then that way I can make sure that it stays adhered. Now, make sure you pay attention to the measurements down below in the description box, because if you do not have acetate, I do have measurements on what you can do for a full closure without acetate. For the last step, we're going to work on our closure pieces for the ribbon to wrap around. I am taking Monica's flowers, who is scrapping for my boys, and I am going to apply brads in the center of them. Now, you can go ahead and take anything that you would like to utilize as this for your closure pieces. You can even just punch out a circle or a scallop circle or heart, and then add your brad in between that. But I want to fancy it up and use the flower, so I'm poking a hole in the center of it, and then I'm taking another tool to widen up that hole, so then that way my brads can fit in there easily. After I do that, I'm going to line it up onto my board, and I am going to strategically, hopefully, place them where I want them to be. I'm going to poke a hole into that. Now, one thing that I did learn when doing this is when you do your long pocket, it is better to apply your brad pieces to that before you fold it all together and apply it to your base. It does become a little bit harder to do when it's already attached to your base, and to go ahead and open up your prongs to your brads. So I do suggest doing that before you attach your pocket, but of course you'll see in the video here that I'm doing it afterwards. Again, you live and you learn, and I realized it would have been a lot easier if I had done it beforehand.